You're 3-6 on the road. The LA Chargers 10-7, 5-3 at home. We're at SoFi in Inglewood. Dolphins win total at 9.5 at minus 105 to the over. AFC East 3-1. AFC 11-1. Super Bowl 22-1. Take a look at the line history here for this one. I'm going to start with the spread. We're sitting at 3. Slightly juiced to Miami. Now, this opened up at 2.5 May 12th, and it stayed at 2.5 until Sunday. Sunday at Pinnacle. Now, it moved earlier at other books around the, I guess, the 30th, 31st. And it's pretty much on the 31st. I mean, the minus 2.5 was minus 130. So we're sitting as 3-point favorites for the Chargers. Let's take a look at the total for this one. We are sitting at 50.5. So it opened at 50.5. So there has been 7 cents of movement to the over. So we have a move to the Chargers, slight move to the over. Take a look at the cash. You have 72% of the tickets and 82% of the cash on the Miami Dolphins. Wow. Public dog and market moving away from them. Wow. I probably should have put that together earlier. Good God. Does that make the Chargers appealing? 79% of the tickets, 90% of cash on the over, and Pinnacle's moved at 6 cents or 7 cents. Wow. So for the Dolphins, I mean, we talked about Kenny Pickett, and I know that at some point this year, Kenny Pickett will either cost me or people I care about a winning bet because of being pulled for a concussion that he may or may not have. And the exact same thing is going to happen here for Tua Tagovailoa at some point. The O-line was so bad last year, and they did almost nothing to improve it. What's the thought process? Tron Armstead's going to be healthy, and that's all we need. Well, they have no depth, and we saw what happens. We talked about what happens when a very important player does not get the contract extension. And now you have the center, Connor Williams, who held out for a new contract, didn't get it, and has come back. So the most important person other than Tron Armstead on the offensive line is angry. The guy who's supposed to protect Tua Tagovailoa didn't get paid and has now begrudgingly come back to the squad. You know, I may end up on the under 9.5 wins all of a sudden. Now, Tua's got spectacular receivers in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I mean, we've never been concerned there. And they bring in Vic Fangio as a defensive coordinator. We know that he's going to fix a lot of the problems. And there were many with this defense because they got destroyed on big plays all year. All year, it didn't matter how spectacular Tua was because they would allow a big play themselves. 29th in yards per point allowed, the third most touchdown passes against. They lose Jalen Ramsey to a full meniscus tear. So Xavier Howard is the number one cornerback. His PFF score last year was amongst the worst in the entire league. He allowed opponents to average a 121.1 passing rating against them. This is not the Xavier Howard of old. And now you have a rookie, Cam Smith, who's got to play this enormous part in this. Now, we know that they can get pressure. And the problem last year was they were getting too much pressure. Too much pressure, and then they were just wide open to get gashed for big plays. But Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, they're going to be very strong. Vic Fangio is going to have a more conservative approach. There'll be less blitzing, so they can help. But I'm telling you what, at what point are you going to have money on the Dolphins, and that's Mike White under center or Skylar Thompson? Because it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
And you just got to pray to God you're not on them that day or that month. Mike McDaniels is a great young coach, but there's a lot of question marks here. A lot of question marks, which is in turn made me really think about maybe betting this under 9.5 wins. Take it away for us, Miami Dolphins. Your thoughts here in this one and on futures.
I think you did a great job of breaking this down. I don't think Tua is going to be able to remain healthy through an entire season. And with this offensive line, there's no reason to think he's going to remain healthy through the entire season. But per PFF, this defense has has some pretty high ratings, and understandably so. I mean, they got talent on the defensive side. I get that. But can Tua stay healthy? I'm betting that he can't stay healthy. And I don't want to get too deep into what I think is going to happen in week one. I mean, that's just going overboard. But I just don't think the Dolphins are going to be a team that I'm going to be backing very often this year. I think they're overvalued in the market. We already see what's going on in this market. All the money and the cash is on the Dolphins, and the line's moving away from them. That's the spot I want to back. This is the spot I've been back. That's literally probably why I'm here and why I've been successful in gambling, is because of a spot like this. I want to bet with the bookies in this case. And yeah, I really do. Vic Fangio, he's going to have a huge impact on the defense. They played cover zero, like way too high of a rate last year. I mean, it was ridiculous, allowing big plays and still playing cover zero. Just ridiculous. Up 24 points and still playing cover zero. I mean, so they'll be a lot better on the defensive side. But on the offensive side, I think is where the questions lie. And I want to say this. The Dolphins were kind of exposed last year when defenses started pressing up on Waddle and Tyreek and kind of bumping them off, even if it's a half a yard left or right. That's throwing off the flow for Tua Tagovailoa, who's a very fluid quarterback. I mean, he kind of relies on timing. He expects his receivers to be in certain spots. When they get jammed off the route, it's not that easy at the NFL level. So, yeah, I'm not very high on this Dolphins team, especially in this spot versus the Chargers, especially week one.
It's just a wild spot. Let's talk about the Chargers. Over 9.5 is juiced to the over. They're 3-1 to win the AFC West, 12-1 to win the AFC, 25-1 to win the Super Bowl. And my dad's an LA big Chargers fan, and we both in unison together despise Brandon Staley. It's too bad. There's a lot of pieces to this puzzle, and getting Joe Lombardi out is a huge piece. And Kellen Moore has given all of the guys a ton of excitement. They love him. I mean, Kellen Moore is a real even-keeled dude, but they love him. Justin Herbert is elite. What is he capable of doing now with Kellen Moore with the seatbelt off that Joe Lombardi forced on him? I mean, with Joe Lombardi, he throws for 4,739 yards, 68.2% completion, 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. It's not only that, but Kellen Moore has a healthy Herbert. Herbert did that with damaged rib cartilage and a shoulder that required off-season surgery. What could he do if he's healthy? With got Corey Linsley, the veteran center, healthy. You have Keenan Allen. Can he stay healthy? I mean, he's healthy right now. I mean, he's not going to stay healthy for the year. Mike Williams, Josh Palmer. You have Quentin Johnston, picked first round. Then you have Austin Eckler. I mean, Eckler's never had a 1,000-yard rushing season, but there's not been a better touchdown producer over the last 2 years. And there's also Joshua Kelly, Isaiah Spiller, Elijah Dotson, undrafted. Behind them, they have Gerald Everett. They have a pass defense that was strong last year, ranked 10th in DVOA. This defense here, my dad despises Joey Bosa, watches him play, just watches all of his histrionics and can't stand him. But you have Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. You have a problem allowing, rush yards. I mean, they would get gashed on the ground, and that can be fixed. They have Derwin James, who's a monster. They bring in linebackers Eric Kendricks and defensive tackle Nick Williams to help stop the holes on the run defense. And tell everybody what you've already bet and tweet it out and made official, because it's I think I'm going to be tailing. Take it away.
So when it comes to the Chargers, the question to me is, can they stay healthy? If they could stay healthy on offense and defense, I think they're potentially the best team in the NFL. Now, last year, their offense and defense was in shambles from injuries. I understand that. And looking at Justin Herbert, I have to say, to be able to play through that cartilage injury, that cartilage fracture that he had, I also had that same injury, and my rib literally protrudes from my side. You'd fucking notice it right away if I took off my shirt. The fact that a quarterback who's torquing his body to throw the ball played through that, I mean, that speaks volumes. And this kid's proved to be just as tough as he is talented. And I don't say that, that's an understatement, to be honest. This kid is tough. They have the new offensive coordinator, like you touched on, Kellen Moore's fast-paced NASCAR attack should lead to more explosive plays. And last year, that was not what they did. They had an extended pass or an extended running game in the passing game, throwing short, very short, not even intermediate routes, short routes to the back to Eckler. I mean, I think it's going to be a whole new look offense for this Chargers team. And I really believe that the defense is criminally underrated based on the talent that they have. Now, I know Khalil Mack, and actually one of my good friends trains at a gym that Khalil Mack trained at. The dude is lazy. So I don't know how much I'm going to rely on Khalil Mack to get back to where he once was. But he's still ranked 37th per PFF. I mean, that's not a bad ranking. I mean, he's right outside the 30 mark that I really look at and document. But I think that this defense is underrated per PFF. I think that they have the ability to make a huge jump forward. And I bet them not only to win this game, I bet them I laid the 2.5. I took them to win the Super Bowl this year. Last year, this was the public darling. Everybody wanted the Chargers last year. Now nobody wants them, and that's when I'm going to come in and scoop them the fuck up. I want the Chargers this year.
Yeah, I just wish I didn't despise Brandon Staley so much. But I agree with everything you said, and I was one of the schmucks that was on the Chargers, a futures market. I had them to win the division just like a clown. But I get it. I get why you're on them. I find this very appealing. Johnny Gunn's saying that we're, that we are underestimating Tua and the Dolphins. Look, if I knew that Tua was going to be fine and play 17 games, I would bet heavily against that happening. And what's going to happen is he's going to get pulled from games, and maybe he's okay, but then maybe he'll play the next week, but they'll pull him from games at the hint of anything. And then what's going to happen? You're going to be sitting there cheering Mike White on to get you home with your hard-earned money. And that's going to be you're going to have to leave. You're not going to be able to watch because it's going to be so horrible. Cover Kings, great to see you. So that's my only problem. Like Staley's the reason why, but I think you've talked me into going back to the well. But if I knew Tua was good to go, I'd be really interested in everything Miami.
100%.
I think Miami is they have problems like any team does, but Tua can be an elite quarterback at times. But I think this is wildly interesting. So let's see. Troy moved on the Chargers, and he got him on the 31st at -2.5 at -120. Excellent work.
I remember texting you about it. I was like, Jimmy, should I post about this play? I mean, should I hold it for the channel?
I said, post it. I can post it. Let them know before it moves to 3. I like what you've done. I'm extremely interested. Excuse me. Joe says, what quarterback do we know will play 17 games? Well, you have a better chance at one that's not broken. I mean, you have to be concerned about Kenny Pickett and Tua. You have to be. I'm interested in now the Chargers in the futures market because you're right. Last year they were the darling, and I fell for it. And this year, I don't hear people talking about it.